Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check, check. Hold up. Let me get my mic right. That's right. Check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Get my mic right. We're in the building. Check, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. All right, family. Let's bring on. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Class in session. Come on in. ain't that with your boys? Family, we gonna get busy tonight, family. Real talk, real talk. Give me 1 second. Maybe I should play a little song while we waiting. Give me 1 second, family. I really this is a personal show for me. You know what I mean? History class in session. This is a personal show for me, family. So if you're not into the educational aspect of this conversation, this may not be your show. This may not be your show. Just move some stuff off my. That's where my headphones at. That's what I need. 1 second. Let me get my headphones. One, two. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. All right. Hold up. Check, check, check. I can't even hear myself. Check, check, check. All right, there we go. All right, I'm getting my mic together. I'm getting my stuff together. Yeah, man, I be working long days, man. But I wanna get these algorithms, man. Yeah, I wanna get these algorithms and get people right. You know what I mean? Oh, I got the spinner. Can y'all see me up in there? Let me see something. Let me make sure I got all my stuff together. You know what I mean? Let me make sure I got all my stuff together. Close. Bam. Close all my stuff out real quick, because you know how they try to get me. Bam. All right. Check 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, we got to get in. We about to get in. To make sure they don't come get me. You know what I mean? Close. Bam. All right, here we go. There we go. Welcome to another edition of Moorish World TV. Put on your dashiki for this Marcus GS. Go about the teach. So, family, the reason why this particular live stream is important to me. Let me turn this down. The reason why this particular live stream is important to me is because I talked to a friend of mine today, and I talked to a friend of mine that I truly have the utmost respect for. Hold up, make sure y'all can see me, because I'm looking crazy on my end. You know what I mean? I talked to a friend of mine that I truly had the utmost respect for. You know what I'm saying? And when he called me, the first thing he said was, Grand Sheik, and he's probably watching tonight, and he inspired me to do this show. He said, Grand Sheik, do Moors love white people? Now, for me, I'm like, what kind of questions is that? So I'm putting it in perspective, and I'm telling them, I'm saying, brother, Moors don't demonstrate hate against nobody. In particular of the question, I didn't say it like this, but I'm saying it like this for tonight. In particular of this question, Moors understand history. So there's no reason for us to hate Europeans. When you truly understand history, there's no reason to hate anybody. The change of events that happen in history is what it is. Before Europeans enslaved us, we enslaved Europeans. The pendulum swings back and forth all the time throughout history. Kingdom rises, kingdom fall. It happens all the time. But for the brother to ask me, do Moors love Europeans? I already knew where he was going with it. I always knew where he was going with it. Now, GS, to be honest, he said, do Moors love the white folks? He ain't asked, do Moors hate the white folks? No, he asked me, do Moors love Europeans? You know what I'm saying? And I said to him, Moors, we have a lesson we said we need to learn to love instead of hate. We love everything in God's creation, but not the love in which people try to do. Most people don't even know what love is. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate all of God's creation. That's right. We appreciate all of it. But when you talk about love, what type of love are you talking about? Don't try to confuse me with no mushy love. Don't try to confuse me with the love of your interpretation. You know what I'm saying? But it's a setup question. Do Moors love Europeans? No, Moors don't love anybody unless they evolve into understanding what love is. You gotta know what love is. So it's a setup question. Let me tell you something about hate. The reason why I address the hate thing is because hate destroys yourself. So if you don't love, you're going to destroy yourself, and you won't be able to understand the dynamic. You won't never be able to understand the dynamic. And so it's pretty much a setup question. That's what it is. You know what I mean? And then we started talking about the white man is the devil concept, right? And I said to him, and I didn't say it in these words. I would love to bring him on the show. I didn't say it in these words, but I said it like this. If the white man the devil and the black man is God, why would the white man, why would the black man, if you will, why would the black man hate something that comes from him? Why? According to the concept of the white man the devil, it was this scientist named Yaqub. If that's the theory that people going off, it was the scientist named Yaqub that created the devil. It created the devil from us. So first of all, you have to understand what love is. You have to understand what hate is. One, and I'm going to tell you straight up, you should never hate nobody. You should never hate nobody, because the hate is what clouds your judgment. It's a saying in the Moorish Science Temple of America that understanding is the rock on which man builds himself. You have to understand the dynamic. And so that's what brought me to this show tonight. Personally, me, no, I don't hate nobody. Personally, me, I love everything. But that don't mean no mushy love. I'm not marrying no European. That don't mean no mushy love that I would approve of some of the things that the European has done. That don't mean that. So I wanted to have this show to really put something down, because the brother said something that sparked me. He said something that sparked me, right? And the thing he said that sparked me is, it was kind of funny to me how he said it. But the thing he said to that sparked me, and I think I put it on my Facebook. He said something to the effect. He said, a few of his African friends Matter of fact, let me send it to my. He said a few of his African friends told him that all Africans hate black people, meaning us in America. You see the problem with that? You see the problem with that? Family, listen to what he said. A few of his African friends told him that all Africans hate us in America. You see what's wrong with that? See, you can't bait me to saying, you love Europeans. Moors love Europeans. Moors love Mexicans. Moors love. Listen. I love everything. But first and foremost, I love me. I love our people. First and foremost. First and foremost. But listen to what the statement that the brother said. A few of his African friends said all Africans hate us. Listen to the sickness. He says he have African friends. He says he have African friends, but yet opposite of that, they said that all Africans hate us. Do that make sense? And when I corrected him, I said, brother, did you hear what you just said? Did you hear what you just said? You said a few of your African friends. If they're your friends, how can all Africans hate us? I said, man, Tariq have worked a number on these people. He has worked a number on these people. How can you make such a statement? And when I corrected him, he was like, no. No. It's too late now. Thank you, divine God of law. It's too late now. The milk is out the cup. And another thing he said, man, Tariq has worked these people, man. You know one of the sayings that they say? They say that we're not Africans because we experience ethnogenesis. Press 7 if you heard them say that. Press 7 if you heard them say that. They repeat, they hear these big words and they repeat this stuff as if it sounds as if they know what they're talking about. As if they say these words, right? As if they know what they're talking about. So family, let's start off right here. I'm going to start right here at the ethnogenesis, right? Ethnogenesis is the process in which a group of people, social group, whatever, comes to regard itself by others as a distinct people, resulting in formation and development of the group, right? So he says, so I had to put him on point, and I say to him, I say, bro. I say, that stuff sounds slick. I said, it sounds slick. But every group in America have an ethnogenesis. The Italian people in America have an ethnogenesis. Why do they have an ethnogenesis? He said, but they never experienced what we experienced. That's not the conversation. I said the Italian people in America experience an ethnogenesis. In other words, the Italian people in America, Americans, they are not like the Italians in South Italy or Sicily. They're different. The dress, the language, they even talk a little different. They dress a little different. They eat a little different. They do things a little bit differently because of the experience. Now, they didn't experience slavery, of course. Of course, they didn't experience slavery, but they don't do things like people do back in Italy. But they don't drop their Italian historical lineage. They don't drop that. They hold on to their Italian historical lineage, but they experience an ethnogenesis. And this is the problem with FBA. FBA be thinking that somebody hate Tariq. No, I'm trying to teach you something. I know you watching, brother. I'm trying to teach you something. You take the Chinese person in America. The Chinese person in America that lives in the Chinatown area, they experience an ethnogenesis. They experience an ethnogenesis. You know what? You know what? If you go to a Chinese restaurant today in America, they serve Chinese food that they don't sell in China. The Chinese people in America do not experience life like the people indigenous in China, but they never separate themselves. They experience an ethnogenesis. They experience an ethnogenesis. Should I go on? The Latino community, when they come to America, and this is a modern ethnogenesis, when they come to America, you have people from Guatemala, you have people from Mexico, you have people from Puerto Rico, you have people from all these Central America countries and South America countries, right? But when they come to America and they sell their goods, products, and services, and even stand in front of a Home Depot, they all as a collective. And you know what we call them? Look at the Mexicans. They could be from San Salvador. We say, look at the Mexicans. You know why? Because subconsciously, we're speaking to the ethnogenesis that's right before our face. And when they come together and they blend their cultures, they become a different, unique type of culture while they are in America. That's called an ethnogenesis. So just because, but they do not separate themselves. They do not separate themselves from their Mexican heritage, Guatemalan heritage, from whatever heritage where they came from before here. They don't do it. The only people that instructed to do something like that is us here in America. Why? Because everybody knows that the power is in the history of the greatness of who you were when you were great. Because as I said, the pendulum swings back and forth. The pendulum swings back and forth. And there was a time when each group of people had their rise. And people build from their rise. So FBA, they only connecting to indigenous here in America, and we're going to address that tonight too. We're going to take a deep dive. We're going to address that tonight, family. Come on, man. Let me teach, man. Can I teach tonight? Can I teach tonight?
Check 1 2.
Huh? Can I teach tonight, Gregory? Can I teach tonight, Starlight?
Like that truth or not?
Come on, man.
We're in the 21st century.
Let's share this thing.
People are poor, hungry, ragged.
The boogeyman is here.
How people are being
Yeah.
murdered on a daily and consistent basis.
It's been a long time, I should have left you. A couple weeks farther crept through. They put the bean on me, I didn't neglect you. Time's up, allow me to bless you. Yell reparations and he got your attention. A failed clown rapper, claim he was pimping. What you don't know, he was a fed since 9-0. Cosmo Flex was a front for 5-0.
You can't get dropped in a pit of snakes.
Certified boogeyman.
And trying to figure out which one has the venom sac.
Certified
We gonna teach tonight.
This one is not
Certified boogeyman.
FBA laughed when he went to the Romans.
Everybody
I guess they
share
don't
this
understand,
demonstration,
that's
man.
you own them. Lying on GS, claiming I stalked them. That ain't true, cause if it was, I'd have chalked them. I'm simply a blogger, researching for the family. Cause people look like me, continue to scam me, continue to scam us in the name of liberation. But when you call them out, they claim that you hate me.
Certified boogeyman.
Talk to him.
Certified boogeyman.
That's who I be. That's who I be.
Certified boogeyman.
Come on.
Certified boogeyman.
I'm back like I left something. And you kept frontin', sick the peens on me, but they ain't really stopping nothing. How you say you stop a man and go get a peace order? Something they ain't adding up. I'm swimming in the deep
Water. That's right. I'm swimming in the deep waters, family. Welcome to another edition of Moorish World TV. I'm your host, Brother Tariq Nasheed, and I'm saying today, family, let me teach. Let me teach something, family. Two things. The main thing that I want to point out today is that FBA is a fraud, and I'm upset that FBA has wrangled in some of my good friends. FBA has wrangled in my friend like Doggy Diamonds. You know what I'm saying? FBA has wrangled in my friend like Lord Jamar. FBA has dangled in my friend that I talked to today on the phone. I was blown away. I was blown away at the lack of education on the subject of historical accounts. I was blown away by this brother lack of education on historical accounts. We even talked about slavery. Me and the brother. We talked about slavery. Thank you, family. I did not realize you were streaming tonight also. I'm getting ready to go live now. John Henry, you got to send me your link. You got to send me your link so we can go over. Brother, hey, before you go, John Henry, tahankabay@gmail.com, brother. tahankabay@gmail.com. Email me. I didn't know you have a page, brother. I'd like to check you out. But anyway, back to my point. Foundational Black Africans in the building. That's what I'm talking about, 350. But now let me teach real quick. This is a problem. This is a problem, family. This is a problem. When FBA or anybody in America claims indigenous of America, they never show and prove their accomplishments. I mean, they never show and prove their accomplishments. When they say that they are indigenous to America, we need to see their monuments. We need to see the stuff that they're accomplishing. Now, let me tell you something. I understand that some of us was here. But I do understand. I try to explain to this brother, and let me slow it down, because I try to explain to the brother. He said, when Christopher Columbus came here, that he seen people that looked like Ethiopians. Family, did Christopher Columbus ever touch the area that we call the United States of America? Family, did Christopher Columbus ever touch the land today that we call United States of America? The answer is no. The answer is no. So basically, you will have to narrow down the geographical location in which you're talking about in order to give perspective to what he was talking about. That's number one. Number two, I said, brother, listen. I said, you're reading or you're listening to stuff off the internet. It would be in the best interest for FBA to start going to libraries to get a book. Because these streamers on the internet, they are not sourcing their information. They're just talking. Dane Calloway, all of them, they're just talking. They're talking in theory that sounds good. For example, this movement that says there was no slaves brought to Africa from Africa because they didn't see the slave ships. I remember when I first explained this to somebody. I said, do you realize that slavery was commerce? And that the slave ships, after slavery was over, they was converted into other ships for other sorts of commerce? I said, did you know that the other source of commerce would have been spices and cotton, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Even when they was importing slaves, they had other things for sale on those international traveling vessels. Then the brother said to me, he says, well, they didn't have ships like that to come over here. Yet, he said something about Christopher Columbus and sailing. Surely Christopher Columbus sailed before the institution of slavery. 1970, John Henry, FBO have no enlisting unless they've procured from African Americans with the distinction. Yeah, with distinction. You know what I mean? They have self-tethered to African descent accomplishment with no sacrifice while expecting maximum prominence. Exactly. But hold up. Even if, shout out to Gregory, they found one in Louisiana and have it on display. Check this. Even if they have no slave ship on display, one thing that they have is the manifestos. Family, I want you to press 7 as I'm talking tonight to make sure that you're rocking with me, that you understand. If you don't understand, I will go ahead and pull a receipt because I got some. They have the manifesto. Do you know how many that's not slave manifestos, they're commerce manifestos. They're shipping Aladdins, shipping ladens. I got a few I'm going to show tonight. So even if you don't find the ship, it's really a straw man argument. Even if you don't find the ship, all of these shipping companies, they were not working in concert with one another. They were in a race to get the money. So these shipping companies, these were companies. They make slavery look like, this is how they try to make slavery look like to the dummy. They make slavery look like it was a few Europeans that was jumping off the shores, having to sit down with African kings and loading up 50 to 100 Africans. That's not how slavery worked. There was already slavery in Africa. And as people love to like to say, well, not like the slavery that they experienced in America, that's all right. The slavery in Africa, they were the undesirables. Even in Africa, you don't enslave your family, you don't enslave your cousin. They were the undesirables. And when the European was ready to give up something that they consider a value for a few, that's when it took off. So although they didn't experience slavery in Africa like they did in the Americas, let me tell you something. The Pale Arab enslaved thousands, if not millions of Africans. The Pale Arab that say that Allahu Akbar and all that, they enslaved millions of Africans. So the exchange from the Pale Arab to the African to the European is not a strange exchange. It's not like in the movies where they went and hunt down 5 or 6 Africans. No, it don't work like that. It's a shame people don't understand slavery. And one thing about these FBAs that claim to be indigenous, why isn't there any written narrative about slave raids for people that look like Africans in the Americas? Why? There is stories where the French tried to enslave the Native Americans and they called him the Red Man. But he just wasn't fit for the work that they was putting on him. He couldn't bear it. That's in a Frenchman journal. So what these FBAs do is they appropriate culture. Where is? My brother said there is no documentation. Where is the documentation of this indigenous conspiracy? Where is it? Family, it doesn't exist. They're making it up as they go along. See, this is the part of history that people don't want to really, I guess, acknowledge. people that look like typical African phenotype, they were here. But by the time the slave trade started, they had migrated, and the population was the phenotype of the Indian that came across the Bering Strait. And I'm talking about in the territory known as the United States of America. That's what I'm talking about. Feel what I'm saying? I'm talking about the United States of America, where people of FBA conversation claims that they are indigenous here. And which, quite possibly so. However, there is extensive research on this. There's extensive research on this. Anybody ever read this book? William Loren Katz, Black Indians, A Hidden Heritage. Anybody ever read this book? This book could be very deceptive. This book could be very deceptive. Because you know why? Most people that see this book, they think Black Indian is given a narrative of an original Black Indian. But that's not what this book is about. This book is about primarily of ex-slaves being adopted into Indian societies and taking on the cultural particulars of the Indian. This is not really talking about native Black Indians that look like Africans. Hey family, y'all hear me? But for one that don't read, like many FBAs, they will try to use this book. And claim that they're all Black Indians. I mean, but this book is not about that. And none of the books that represent Black Indians have that narrative that the Indian and the one that looked like an African phenotype is an original Indian of the indigenous persuasion. There is no research on that. None. They be making this stuff up as they go along. And guess what? The grifter banks on people that don't read. Listen, I can butcher some words all day. But when it comes to reading, you in for something. You in for something. You know what I mean? I could butcher stuff all day. Let me show you something. Let's get into this. When these people like Dane Calloway and only and a lot of FBA and ADOS, when they start talking about slavery, one thing that they fail to mention is these manifestos exist. One thing that they failed to mention. This is what they failed to mention. You feel what I'm saying? And it got the people names. This one got the sex, where they come from. They even got the tone of their complexion. Check this out. And they got where they picked them up at. Copper. They named him Anderson. Copper. This one is black. This one is yellow. Black. Copper. Black. Copper. Blacks are climbing to Indian tribes after being left in America by failed Spanish colonies, to which they were a fallacy of black being indigenous come from. Come on, brother. You in there, John. Man, you got to come on the show, John. You know what I mean? But this is the thing about our people. Even we've been taught. Read that book. We was owned by these savages. Come on, bro. My man, we got some. See, this is the type of. See, I told Moochie, man, I said, man, I'm gonna teach tonight, man, and I'm glad to see that we have a lot of readers in here. Because this, and I try to explain to the brother. I say, brother, listen, the only way that they're able to play this FBA game, the only way that they're able to play this FBA game is because we don't read enough. We depend on microwave information from the internet. Fortunately, when I started discovering who I was and who our people are. I was forced to read a book, and I was forced to go to the library. I was forced to use the Dewey Decimal System. Anybody remember? Press 7 if you remember the Dewey Decimal. Anybody remember that? Anybody remember that? You got to be 40, 50 years old. Remember the Dewey Decimal System? Anybody? I might be saying it wrong now. Anybody remember that? Anybody remember the Dewey Decimal System? That's what we had to do. And when we found the book that we were looking for, we were so happy that we found the book. We were so happy that we found the book that we read it from cover to cover. Because books was hard to really come by to fit the topic or what we were thinking in our mind. And you had to really search for the book. That's why you had to really search for the book. So the internet doesn't have everything in the book. This is a reprint right here. 50 Days Aboard a Slave Vessel. If you haven't read this book, get this book. I feel like what's that guy name? That fake Moore name? I forget his name. He always showing books. But 50 Days Aboard a Slave Vessel by Reverend Pascal G. Hill. And see, this is what people don't understand about slavery. Slavery was about, thank you, big bro, John Henry. Slavery was about commerce. And if you were of the slave class, you fell into the hull of a ship. Reverend Pascal Hill, he was in Britain, and he was commissioned by the Royal Navy, if I'm not mistaken. And he was commissioned by the Royal Navy, and he had access to these ships. He wasn't a slave. But he had access to this ship, and he was reporting for, I think it was the British Royal Navy. And when he aborted these ships, he described everything he seen, and this was in the 1800s. So the point that I'm making is to try to act like slavery didn't happen is insane. It's insane. Yeah, I need everybody to subscribe to John Henry. I'm going over that as soon as I get off here. So at the end of the day, family, we need to understand that the record is clear. That the record is clear. Peep game. The record is clear. When you look at, peep this, family. FBA is tripping. A list of ships employed in the trade to Africa from the port of Bristol, 1749. Do you know what that means? From the port of Bristol, these are the name. It was business. These are the names of the ships right here. It was business. It wasn't a conspiracy to try to hide that they was enslaving Africans. It was a business. Africans was a commodity. No different than sugar. No different than spices. No different than, it was a commodity. Now, this is the thing that brings it to a head. There wasn't one shipping company that hold the conspiracy, as people try to portray slavery to be. There was tons of shipping companies. And guess what? They were all insured. So there's paper trail on everything that happened. Where is the evidence that the FBA, the foundation, are indigenous to here? Where is it? John Henry mentioned a point. And to add to that point, when people begin to understand how indentured servitude started, indentured servitude was the practice of Africans being employed for a length of period and then released. Now, when you understand the period of indentured servants, then you would understand why there were so many melanated people here. Because many of the indentured servants was freed up the north. So everybody wasn't enslaved. But those people that was freed up the north and wasn't enslaved, you're trying to say that they're Indians. It don't work like that. It don't work like that. Listen, the research, you can go and research it for yourself. You can go and research it for yourself. Listen, this is the slave ship Triton had 150 slaves. The Antelope slave ship had 230 slaves. Matter of fact, this is all manifesto. Here it is right here. Here it is right here on the left. Here is the breakdown on the right. Juno, Alexander, Volunteer, Molly, Jamaica Packet. You see what I'm saying? So when you see those fake pictures where people are squished in the hull of a boat. Yeah, they had people squished in the hull of the boat. But these are the real numbers. These are the real numbers. You feel me? Now remember, this is 1749, right? This went on for years. Right here, you have 5,180 transported human beings. But they're a combination of 17 in this list, 17 different ships. Now imagine, come on, man. People say, well, how them numbers get so big? It was a race. It was a race to get the money to sell people. It was a race. Anybody that had money, this was the investment. You remember when Bitcoin came out and everybody was investing in Bitcoin? You remember when Bitcoin came out and everybody was acting like they had knowledge of Bitcoin? That's how the slave trade kicked off. When the slave trade kicked off and these companies seen that it was popular, they converted some of their ships that was used for natural commodity, whether it was wheat or whatever the commodity was. They converted it because this was another commodity. Many people look at the slave trade as if it was literal, just a only attack on Africans. That was only one part of it. That was only one part of it. Initially, it was an attack on the Moors who invaded Spain. You know what I'm saying? Initially, when the Moors was expelled from Spain, the Pope at the time gave a papal bull and he said, you have the right to enslave the infidels. So the Moors who was expelled out of Spain were the first target of slavery. And those who were pushed back into North Africa, those were the ones that they say enslaved. And the ones in Spain, they became subjects of Spain. They became subjects of Spain. And if they didn't become subjects of Spain, they also was enslaved. If they didn't accept Christianity and call themselves Moriscos, they also was enslaved. So at the end of the day, initially slavery was a target for melanated people of North African descent associated with the Moors. But once it got rolling, it was about business. Human beings was a commodity. It was a commodity. And that's the fact of the matter. And those that was enslaved in the Americas, without a doubt or contradiction, they came from Africa. Without a doubt or contradiction. There's a trail of evidence without a doubt or contradiction. This is why people like Dane Calloway and those indigenous people talk that stuff. They will never debate somebody who is knowledgeable of this stuff. I mean, they would never debate somebody who is knowledgeable of this stuff, because when you start showing the receipts and connecting the dots, like tonight, I don't really got to show a lot of receipts and connect the dots. But if there was a real debate, you know what I mean? And you start connecting the dots and you start showing where, for example, if you wanted to trace this ship down, every ship was moving a commodity. Say if you wanted to trace where the Triton ship was, it's possible to find the ship. Because you know what happens with ships, family? I forget the name that they use in sailing. But once a ship is destroyed, they have to, hold up, let me see what it says. I forget the name of it. Let me see what the name of it's called. What is it called when a ship is put out of commission? It's a name for it. I forget the name for it. Don't have it up here, but let me see. Let me look at nautical terms. There's an actual name for it. When a ship is put out of service. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Anyway. I forget the name for it. Yeah, Dane Calloway. That's why they be charged, once say 10 racks for a debate. Man, nobody debating for no 10 racks. Listen, at the end of the day, it's called mothballed. Crip says it's called mothballed. I think he might be right. Let me see. Decommissioning. Okay, decommission. So listen. I don't want to stay on that, but there is a term for decommission. All right, got you. So listen, when they do that, right? When they do that, they actually write out like it's a death certificate. Press 7 if you understand what I'm saying. They write it out like it's a death certificate because it's a business. You got to understand that slavery was a shipping business. Those that transported the slaves, didn't literally own the slaves. They were owned by companies. Press 7 if you understand. Give me some water, man. Y'all done got me fired up. You know what I mean? So what they did was, it was no different than one moving stuff for the UPS. Listen, when UPS or FedEx decommission their trucks, you know they turn into food trucks, right? You know they turn into ice cream trucks, right? You know they turn into trucks for other uses. That's the same thing happened to the ships. So when these goofballs say, what happens to the ships? I mean, what happened to the ships? What happens to an old bread truck? It goes into other areas of endeavors. That's what happens. It's like we don't even think anymore. And the only argument that they have is what happened to the ships, when you got the name of all the ships and you can do the research yourself. You can do the research yourself if you want to know what happened to the ships. It's all public record because it was business. You can find out. If you search hard enough, you can find out what happened to the ships. But they don't want to find out. What they want to do is create a narrative for the internet, or create a narrative to keep our people running dizzy in circles. But they won't. And Dane Calloway with 10,000 to debate. Debate what? Listen. So we believe We believe that Europeans that enslaved our people, that they was putting, hold on 1 second, let me put that out. They was putting fake ads in newspapers. They was putting fake ads to appease a FBA that they don't know about. They was running around doing all these fake ads saying the French Negro of Senegal Nation. They was doing all these fake ads. Named Neptune, age about 25, 5 feet 6 inches high, dressed in a blue jacket and trousers, having a number of scars on his legs and feet. Disappeared in the morning. They did all of this. They did all of this to appease a group of people in 2020 through 26 to appease the conspiracy. They did all this. That's what they want people to believe, that this stuff is not real. The Port of Charleston, that this stuff is not real. The Port of Charleston, Brig Carolina, Shanghai, Senegal, 42 days, Delaware and Connaught, 100 slaves. Schooner, here you go. Look at this. Schooner, Aranje, Somers, Philadelphia, 8 days. Brook and Potter, corn and flour. They got corn and flour on that demonstration. Sloop Pitch Pipe, Anthony St. Augustine, 4 days. Master Oranges, Sloop Regulator, Hay, Savannah, 1 day. Master Cotton. See, our people were a commodity. You know what I'm saying? Our people was a commodity. So just because Africans, and I'm going to say some Africans, whichever country they are from, may have disdain to Africans in America, that doesn't change history. That doesn't change history. And that's what we got to recognize, that it doesn't change history. Now, one thing about me, I don't get caught up on that segment of history. In reality, that is a small segment of history considering how we dominated the planet prior to slavery. Before the Roman Empire had its rise, yeah, that was a long time ago. But we seen our day in the sun many, many times. Many, many times. We've seen our day in the sun many, many times. But for the powers that be to maintain control and dominance, they have to make someone think less of themselves. And what better way to make people think less of themselves to depict them as a perpetual slave and nothing more than that. Hence the term FBA, Foundational Black Americans. But the question remains, if you are foundation of America, show me what you built for you, by you. Because everything that you're talking about went from a foundation perspective was for somebody else, by you, and under duress. And under duress. You didn't do it voluntarily. It was under duress. At the foundation, at the core of what you're talking about. You didn't do it voluntarily for you. You didn't get to receive the rewards. You didn't get to receive the rewards. Even today, we are still in a system. We are still in a system that does not benefit the lower class. And when the upper class Negro get out of hand, they will reduce him to the lower class. Keep it a buck. Keep it a buck. Because the system is not designed. It's not designed for you to manipulate it and to have true freedom. It's designed for you to have an illusion of freedom. And there's only one way out of this situation. The same way that they plucked Africans from different tribes, from different countries, from different areas, those people from those same areas is going to have to put their brain power, their energy power, and put their intelligence together to overcome any separation or division that exists. It will slow the process. That doesn't mean that you have to hug, kiss, marry, jump brooms with someone in Senegal. That doesn't mean that. That doesn't mean that. That means that you have to have some sort of working relationship with the same goal. Because in the islands, as well as Africa, colonization is the call of the day. In America, we suffer from mental slavery, and it's sometimes seen worse than actual physical slavery. And what you see from the FBA is mental slavery at its finest. At its finest. When you listen to FBA rhetoric, it sounds nothing opposite of crazy and European white supremacy. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like to me. When you look at these books, family, when you look at these manifesto books, right? When you look at these manifesto books, you cannot run from the concept that you cannot run from this concept. You cannot run from it. It's all written. Nothing that these talking heads are saying is written. It just sound good. It just sound good. Listen to this. Note that the Austin and Lawrence account book recorded only the gender of those who were imported and sold, does not include names of the enslaved. Information recorded in the journal includes the name of the purchaser, how many men, women, boys, and girls they purchased, and the credit terms for sale. This was business. Family, do you know that in America, when you start a business today, it's really not that much different than the 1500s, the 1700s? There's a lot of signatures that go on contracts and paperwork, and there's a lot of things that establishes the business. Once we understand that slavery was business and take our feelings out of it, that it was business, then you'll be able to track down and see what it really looks like in real time. Then you'll be able to see what it looks like in real time. But people are taking it personal. You know what I'm saying? And I understand, but we need to get over that personal thing. We need to get over that personal thing. Like when the brother said, "Do you love Europeans?" Like, I know what you're trying to say. I know what you're trying to say. But let me say, I love everybody. I love Europeans. I love our people. I love Chinese people. I love dogs. I love cats. I love humanity. I love everything. I love everything. But I ain't no sucker for love. I'm not a sucker for love. I have good common sense. I have good common sense. I'm not a sucker for love and let love blind me. But I don't hate to make love, to make hate make me a monster. Hate will make you a monster. Revenge will make you a monster. You know what I mean? If a European is a bigot to me, so what? That's what he's supposed to be. That's what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be that. Let me tell you why he's supposed to be that. The surprise would be if he don't be that. The surprise would be if they don't be that. But let me tell you why it's not surprising to me if a European act like a bigot towards me. Because I understand history. I understand the trauma that the Moors put Europeans through. I understand how Moors enslaved Europeans. I understand how Africans enslaved Europeans. I understand how Africans brutalized Europeans. I understand how Africans took over Europe. I understand how Africans took over all of Europe and subjected Europeans. So why wouldn't a European want revenge? Why wouldn't he have it in his blood, have it in his system to say you'll never do it again? Why wouldn't he? That's a natural reaction. The surprise would be not to move on that natural reaction and have a heart of love. That would be the surprise. You gotta understand, before the Roman Empire, black as this shirt Africans, they ran Europe. Do we even know that Europe get its name from our people? Europa? Europeans didn't even name the area called Europe. Our people did. We named them. And now we allowing them to name us. Press 7 if you with me. We named them. We named them. And now we allow them to name us. You see how things are switched? So I'm not surprised when a European act like a bigot. I'm not surprised when he act like he hate. You're talking about thousands of years of lost history where we dominated Europeans. You feel what I'm saying? I'm glad you removed your thumbs up. I'm glad you removed your thumbs up. Because guess what? You're one of them sensitive, non-reality persons. You know what I'm saying? See, you don't know what love is. See, love is not let me explain something that love is. This is what love is. You don't know what love is. You might be a sissy boy and think love is kissing another boy in the mouth. That ain't love. Let me show you what love works like. When Jesus said, if you believe in Jesus, right? When Jesus said, love thy enemy, do you think that Jesus mean go and hug and kiss your enemy in the mouth? Do you think he mean that? Mm-mm. See, love works as a concept. And it's a concept where you can open up your eyes and you can see things for what they are. So just transfer love to appreciate. See, I can appreciate what I'm looking at. I can appreciate the effort. And in appreciating it and know what I'm looking at, I can neutralize it. I can neutralize it. See, hate allows you to react without thinking. See, love is a calming effect. There's two things in all the world. The one is love, the other is hate. The one is up, the other is down. The one is positive, the one is negative. If you was to choose a side to operate under, you would better choose love, because hate moves with reckless emotion. You know what I'm saying? It moves with reckless emotion. But your understanding of love is probably kiss somebody in the mouth. Your understanding of love is to hold hand and frolic through the tulips. But that's what Europeans told you that love is. You see what I'm saying? Europeans told you that love is embracing, holding hands, and frolicking in the tulips. But that ain't what our ancestors believe love is. That ain't what our ancestors believe love is. You see what I'm saying? Let me explain one more time. If God, right? If you believe in God, I don't care what your persuasion is. If you believe in God, God created humanity, right? If I don't know whether you Muslim, whether you Christian or whatever, because I don't know who I'm talking to. Do God love his creation? Of course, we would say God love his creation. Of course, we would say God love his creation, right? But will God destroy the disobedient creation? Of course. We've seen it in Sodom and Gomorrah. We see it all throughout the Bible. We see it all throughout the Quran. We've seen it all throughout history. Does that change that God doesn't love his creation? No. That doesn't change that. The problem is you don't understand love. The problem is you don't understand love. You think love is rubbing up on somebody's genitalia probably. That ain't love. That ain't love. You got a poor concept of love. And that's what Europeans taught you on a slave plantation. Europeans taught you on a slave plantation to love your master. But the way that he told you to love your slave master, it was consistent with him to take advantage of you. And you think that's love. That's not love. That's not love. You need to rewire yourself. You need to rewire yourself to understand what genuine love is. Genuine love for myself will not let you harm me, regardless if I love you or not. Genuine love for myself will not let someone that brings danger in my circle to be around me, and I still love them just the same. I still love them just the same. I still love them just the same. Anybody in here have some family that they love, but you say stay over there? Family, press 7 if you have family that you love, but you say stay over there. Huh? Anybody? Am I the only one? Children, cousins, friends, I love you. I love you. But stay over there. Anybody? Am I the only one? When you can understand that sort of love, if you can understand that sort of love, that's the love I speak of. And if you don't stay over there and you come over here, you're going to demonstrate, you might fail it. You know what I mean? I got you. So with that being said, thank you, Cyril Leon. So anyway, I just wanted to break down that because when people say, oh, you love Europeans. Listen, I've known Europeans all my life. I have never had no fear for Europeans. I've never put Europeans in a box with each and every one of them the same. I don't do that. You know what I'm saying? I have a lot of Europeans that I've grown up with back in the day, I come in contact with back in the day. Man, listen, at the end of the day, it didn't take nothing from me. It didn't take nothing from my Moorish science. It didn't take nothing from me. And we all operate on the up and up. That's right. And if you ain't operating on the up and up, then it's time to get out of there then. With that being said, let me attack another conversation. Shout out to the European viewers on Moorish World TV. I just had to go on a rant about that because these people will always try to throw the race card in there when they are the ones that let the European, the crazy European take advantage of them. They are the ones that let the crazy European take advantage of them. But with that being said, check this out. At the end of the day, right, I want to attack this too. Have anybody heard the conversation that Pan-Africanism was created by the white man? Anybody heard that? This is another FBA talking point. That Pan-Africanism was created by the white man. Anybody heard that yet? Anybody heard that? Press 7 if you heard that. That Pan-Africanism was, they creating all of these crazy concepts. But when I go and do the research, I'm trying to find this European that created Pan-Africanism? I'm trying to find him. I mean, I'm trying to find him. Terry Daniels, you don't know what love is, brother. You don't know what love is. But you all right. I'm trying to find him. Let me touch this one more time, Sierra Leone. If you say the European is of a lower nature and you are of a higher nature, why are y'all so fearful of Europeans? Y'all so fearful of Europeans. That's the reason of, that's the reason of saying, I hate Europeans. Go ahead and hate whoever you want, but don't put that on me. I'm just saying, don't put that on me. I stand on that. Don't put that on me. But let me tell you something. Every blood in my vein run for our people. But don't put that on me. Anyway, so the thing about the Pan-African ideal, and anybody that want to debate that, please step up. Please step up to huckabay@gmail.com. Please step up. Don't leave a bunch of comments. Oh, Moors love Europeans. And try to use that as some propaganda. Step up and get some understanding. Step up. Because I'm telling you, I don't hate nobody. Hate will never eat me up. But with that being said, talking about Pan-Africanism, right? I mean, talking about Pan-Africanism. They say the European created Pan-Africanism. Tariq have said it, and I heard other people repeating. And the brother that I spoke to today, he said the same exact thing. He said the same exact thing. Look, somebody said. See how silly this is? He's trying to distract me. An animal, what do you say? An animal would tear you off, but people love him. There you go. Because people don't understand love, man. It's all good though. But so the thing is, we're not fearful of GS. Those like me are just sick of them, but can't do anything about it right now because too many of our people love and maintain enemy oppressor. No, this is the major difference. Let me get on Damon real quick. The major difference is, Damon, that you're not doing anything to compete with the European. And so you blame the European today for what you are capable of doing for yourself. You're not competing with Europeans against Europeans right now. And so now you say we're not fearful, GS. Those like me are just sick of them bit, but can't do nothing about it right now. You can do something about it. Unite with like-minded people, build your own, build upward and outward, and establish your own economy and move forward. You're not doing nothing about it. You're not doing anything about it but complaining. That's all you're doing. You're just complaining. You're talking about you can't do nothing about it. You're not trying to do nothing about it. How many people are you organized to do something about it? How many people resources have you got so you can try to do something about it? How many think tanks have you put together so you can do something about it? You haven't tried to do nothing. So you can't blame the European. You got to blame yourself today because you haven't tried to do nothing. You're on the internet saying we can't do nothing right now. Well, how many people have you organized? What organization are you a part of? What marching orders do you have? What have you established? What are you doing? Watching YouTube videos. And ain't nothing wrong with that. But the first time you say we can't do nothing right now and we sick and tired of Europeans right now, then you got to show me that you're sick and tired by doing something to counter the oppression. Do you even grow your own food? Nope, you go to the grocery store. You go to the grocery store. Everything you do, people that complain about Europeans, everything that they do is consistent with purchasing their own oppression. Because they haven't started grow their own food. They haven't started to try to go with some resources for renewable energy for themselves. They haven't done anything for themselves. But then say, we can't do nothing right now. You're not trying to do nothing. Most of y'all that talk that stuff have not grown a tomato in your house. And go right to the store and get pesticide, GMO tomatoes. Go right to the store and eat Doritos. Go right to the store and buy Pepsi. Go right to the store and buy drinks. Go right to the smoke shop and buy weed. Go right. You ain't doing nothing. So don't tell me about no Europeans doing something. You doing it to yourself. Sun, Moon, and Star, you can come on the show. Now, you can come on the show. With that being said, let's get. So they say Pan-African is dead. Let me go to the next thing. I appreciate you, Sun, Moon, and Star. Listen, they say, Michael Smith say, I grown a tomato. Listen, they say Pan-Africanism is dead. So the brother said to me, right, Pan-Africanism is dead, right? And I said to him, I say, brother, y'all listen to me, man. I say, brother, what do you mean Pan-Africanism is dead? Pan-Africanism is not dead. What makes you say that Pan-Africanism is dead? He said, it is dead. I say, brother, you don't understand Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism is not Sinetta TV throwing around a red, black, and green power flag talking about black power. That's not Pan-Africanism. I say, brother, you don't understand what Pan-Africanism is. You think Pan-Africanism is an African from Ghana running around yelling Pan-Africanism. No, Pan-Africanism is where if you wanted to, you could go in Ghana and take up citizenship. That's called Pan-Africanism. That you could move to Tanzania and be at peace. That's called Pan-Africanism. They let you right on in. You know what I'm saying? And other countries in Africa will allow you to take up residence just because you are descendant thereof. That's called Pan-Africanism. It's a collective of working together. You know what you need? Let me show you what you need. Let me show you what you need. You need a basic book on Pan-Africanism. Let me see something. My bad. You know what you need? You need something like this. Pan-Africanism for beginners. That's what you need. So you can understand Pan-Africanism is not running around yelling Pan-Africanism. That ain't Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism is being able to connect internationally with those of melanated persuasion descended from the inhabitants of Africa and making things work by working together, whatever the agenda is, whether it's education, whether it's social ills, whether it's nationality to relocate, whatever. You know what I mean? Pan-African. They treat like dirt when we move to the motherland. There are videos about it. But guess what? There are also videos about people are living there successfully. Listen, Damon, whatever poison you want on the internet, you can pull it up and scoop and eat from it all you want. Just as well as you have those with bad experiences moving to a country in Africa, you have brothers and sisters with phenomenal experiences. But if you want to scoop the poison that every experience is a bad experience, then it is what it is. Keep on eating the poison. But let me tell you something. I know people that moved to Atlanta during the rush when Atlanta was booming. And guess what happened? They didn't survive in Atlanta. Guess what happened? They came right back to Baltimore after about 3 years. They was down there struggling just like they did in Baltimore. So it's not unique to Africa. If you go anywhere unprepared, you go anywhere where the culture is different than what the culture you're used to, you can expect to have something happen that is unexpected. And especially if you show up as a Vic. Anywhere you go, if you show up as a Vic, you will be treated as a Vic. I don't care if you move to Baltimore from the woods. I don't care where you move at. If you show up as a Vic, you will be treated as a Vic. You know what I'm saying? But when people was migrating, did they do that in y'all city too? When people was migrating to Atlanta? Remember when everybody was going to Atlanta? Anybody remember? Everybody was going to Atlanta. How many people went back home? How many people came back home? So don't give me the African stuff. Don't give me the African stuff. People go straight to Texas. I mean, they move straight to Texas from the East Coast. And guess what? Some stay, some can't make it. Some can't make it. So you want to highlight that people go to Africa and can't make it. You do that right in the United States. Right in the United States. So this is what I'm saying. We got to stop cherry picking. We got to stop cherry picking. Now, me, I have no desire to go and colonize Africa. That ain't my thing. But for those who wish to do that, some is going to make it, some is not. Press 7 if y'all understand what I'm saying. Press 7 if you understand what I'm saying. Some will make it and some will not. Now, in this book, it got a bunch of stories that highlight. They got a bunch of story. Somebody say that's not the same. Oh, it's the same. It's the same. You want to try to make it apples and oranges. It's the same. Now, in this book, Pan-Africanism for Beginners, you do not have a bunch of flag-wearing, fist-pumping, screaming black power. What you have is examples of collective working together. People working together as a collective beyond the borders and the waters. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, that's what Pan-Africanism is about. Working together beyond the borders and the waters. That's what Pan-Africanism is in a nutshell. Most people of power in African countries, they desire to do trade with Africans in America. But Africans in America, like FBA, they so goofy, they would rather Europeans go to Ghana and buy all the cocoa for Hershey Company instead of trying to create a company for themselves in a relationship so they can be the next Hershey. You hear what I say, family? You hear what I say? They would rather foreigners with no association to go get rubber, to go get coffee, to go get cocoa, to go get everything that makes economy grow in any other nation. They would rather other people to do it. They would rather for the Chinese to come into Africa and colonize parts of Africa in Kenya and then cry and talk about, look at the Chinese doing the Kenyan. Why you ain't there? If the doors open like that, why you ain't there? Why you here crying? See, the Chinese people there because he know that the resources are there. Because he know that the resources are there. The Europeans are there because they know that the resources are there. But you turning your back on the world's greatest resource. Mother Africa. You's a fool. You's a fool 10 times over. You's a fool 10 times over. And again, like I said, I have no desire to relocate to Africa, but I do have a desire to do some business and trade with brothers and sisters in Africa and import some of that stuff over here because the European sure is important to where they need it taken to. The Chinese is definitely important to where they need to take it to. You know what I mean? See, what the FBA want to do is they want to go to the jeweler guy. They want to go straight to the jeweler guy. They want to go to the Iceman. They want to go to the high price jeweler guy and buy their jewelry. They don't want to get it from scratch. They don't want to polish it up. They don't want to be at the beginning because they're slaves. They don't want to be at the beginning of production. They want to be at the receiving end of being a consumer. And that's the problem with these people call themselves FBA. They don't understand how the world works. They don't understand how the world works. They don't understand how the world works. They would rather demonize Africa instead of trying to find out if you want to stay in America, then by all means do that. But you create relationships in order to build up what you need here in America for you and yours. Just think about it. What resources do America got that America's use other than people? Family, I'm going to say that one more again for the people in the back. What resources do America has other than people? The biggest source in America is the working class. Are you trying to prove FBA wrong when you say yourself is saying that black people were already here? I'm not saying what you're saying. Okay. So, for the Pan-African thing, Europeans didn't create Pan-Africanism. That's number one. All right? Europeans did not create Pan-Africanism. And I would debate anybody on that. That's number one. If anybody want to debate that, pull up and show up. Pull up and show up. Now, secondly, let's get to this. This is what the brother said. FBA told me today that one of his African friends told him that all Africans hate us. FBA is fried. His African friend said this. How do you have an African friend to make a statement like that? That's a contradiction of terms. See what he say? Africa doesn't even have fresh water. Ain't that crazy? Why do y'all say Africans won't let us do nothing? That's not true. Y'all watching too many videos. Ask Tariq how people treated him when he just went to Africa and tried to get that medicine to heal his gout. Ask him how they treated him. Ask Tariq how they treated him when he went to Africa to get that medicine for that gout. Ask him. They treated him real well. They treated him real good. You seen the videos, him smiling up there eating. You seen the videos. Tariq been to Africa more than any other country he ever traveled to. You hear what I said? Do I need to do a list of the countries where Tariq went? I do have a list. I told you I research him like a guinea pig. He have visited more African countries than any other place on the planet. And you say they don't have fresh water. When your leader out there drinking fresh water, goat milk, and everything else, and trying to get medicine for gout. Come on, man. Y'all go for anything. Africa don't have fresh water. Do you know how many countries in Africa, you crazy man? How many countries in Africa? You still believe the commercial with people with flies on their head and Sally Struthers talking about feed the poor. Zzz, and the pot bellies. You still believe that stuff? You still believe that? One dime can feed a family for 5 years. Make a donation to the United Negro Hungry Fund. Zzz. You still believe that? You got coconut for brains. Ain't nothing but water on the brain. No, for real, you got coconut. Ain't nothing but water right there. All that was propaganda, man. Sally Struthers, man, that was a hustle, man. Please feed the poor. You still believe that? Man, listen, some people need to try to travel, I guess. I've never been to Africa, but I've been many places in America, and I've seen some terrible conditions in America through my years. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Go watch our speed videos in the countries he traveled to Africa. Come on, man. You tripping. You tripping, man. You just go for anything. At the end of the day, let me read something out there. This book's here about slavery, right? This book right here. Listen to this. I want to underscore how people were here, right? This book is, I think this, The Black Man in America from 1861, this book right here. And on page 9, it talks about, after the revolution, a growing number of people began to speak out against slavery. As anti-slavery feelings spread, both northern and southern legislators began to pass laws either to ban slavery or to discourage the slave trade. In some northern states, slavery was abolished. In 1780, listen to this. I want you to listen to this. In 1780, Pennsylvania passed a law that gradually would abolish slavery. So when you say that 1865 they freed slavery, they freed slaves, slaves was already free, and you think they were indigenous. But you don't read enough. Listen, laws were passed that totally banned slavery in Connecticut and Rhode Island in 1784. In 1784, you still believe that you was freed in 1865. You believe that you was a southern slave plantation, FBA. You don't know that you was building on some massive movement before 1865. What is wrong with y'all? 1865 wasn't to free the slaves. It was to reunite the whole South as well as the slave. That means Europeans too. But when Trump says that the 14th Amendment was for black people and slaves, that's what he tell you. But in reality, it was to reconnect the South that disconnected themselves from the United States. And it secured their citizenship as well as the slaves thereof. It wasn't just for quote unquote black people. Cause it was we were already free in many parts of the northern states. How you gonna free somebody already free? Family, press 7 if you understand what I'm saying. How you gonna free somebody already free? In the South, however, new laws only stopped or discouraged the slave trade. Instead of abolishing slavery, for example, the Maryland legislature in 1783 stopped the importation of slaves into the state. I'm from Maryland. And when you start seeing and reading about people free, these were slaves. They was not indigenous Indians. They were not indigenous Indians. Listen. But they did not put an end to slavery. In 1786, North Carolina raised the import duty on slaves and did away with the entirely in 1790. The South Carolina legislature banned the importation of slaves in 1787. But repealed the law in 1803. The South Carolinians explained their action by claiming that it was impossible to enforce the law. So you know what they did when they started shutting down the importation of slavery? You know what they did? Where Tariq tried to remix what happened? He called it buck breaking, but in fact they was using buck men to breed slaves. Where they would take a man to have sex with all the women that they could to breed slaves. So they had slave breeding farms. They was breeding people like puppies. So when you talk about how they get all the people over here, they brought many over here, and then the other ones, they breed it like puppies. So if you don't know history, it's easy to say, man, there's no way you can bring all them people over here. No way. They didn't bring them all over here. Nor did they start scooping them up, running all throughout the woods of the Americas. They had breeding farms. Like, if you don't know history, you're going to sound crazy. Anyway. So you're talking about nearly 100 years before the Emancipation Proclamation, where the importation of slavery had stopped. But the part of history that people don't understand is the breeding farms. And this is the part that disconnected them from Africa. Here is the missing link. The missing link where people begin to not associate themselves with Africa because they had a lapse of understanding is because after the importation stopped, they begin to have breeding farms. So when you have breeding farms, you have people that are produced on the soil. And then you have people that are dying off that was coming here from Africa. And now the replacement slave that is coming at an alarming rate through these breeding farms, now they have a disconnect from Africa. So the last group, and this is how you get the Goofy Foundation of Black Americans. The last group or the last generation of slaves, many of them came from these breeding farms that perpetuated a disconnect to Africa because they wasn't one that came on the ship. They wasn't the ones. So that's where the disconnect, and that's where the missing link is. So now all they know is the native land in which they're born in. And they hear these stories. And they hear the stories about Africa. They hear the story about Islam. They hear the story. And this is how they was able to convert these ones into Christians in the way that they did, because they had a disconnect. The first ones, this is why when you look at the old pictures of slaves, the older ones, and you look at the old ones, they always have some type of rag on their head. Whether they classify it as Aunt Jemima, because that represents the turban. The women wore turbans when they were enslaved. North Africans wore turbans. That was a part of the culture. And so in the early and in some of the older depictions of slaves, every woman had their hair covered. People say because she was in the field. Not because she was in the field, because they was used to the customary turban. That was a sense of them holding on to a sense of their identity. But if you don't know history, then of course you start talking dumb. I'm Foundation American. I'm Foundation American. No. You're Africans in America. Now listen to it. You're Africans in America. That's who you are. You're descended from Africans and you're in America. Period, point blank. Now listen. Before 1790, the count of free black people was mainly an estimate or a rough guess. According to the first United States Census in 1790, there was 59,557 free black people in the country. Before that time, it was difficult to distinguish between black indentured servants and slaves. You see this? I'm going to say it again. Before the census, it was hard to distinguish between black indentured servants and slaves. There were several ways that the number of free blacks could be increased. Most slaves who became free did so by running away. There were, however, some black people who were born free. How were they born free? Not because they was indigenous of a red Indian. They were born free because they was indentured servants, and this was before 1865. Family, if y'all with me tonight in this class? At times, slaves were freed as a reward for years of faithful service. Others were set free upon death of a master who will free certain or all of his slaves. During the colonial period, service in the Army and Navy brought freedom for many black men. Other slaves were able to buy their freedom. In the North, how can slaves buy their freedom? How can slaves buy their freedom if they're slaves and they don't have no possession? See, we haven't studied slavery enough to really understand the dynamics of how it happened. In the North, slaves gradually gained freedom through laws abolish slavery. In all, there were 488,000. Listen to this. Listen to this number, family. There was 488,000 free blacks by 1860. This is before the emancipation. But there was still nearly 4 million slaves. Free black people were able to gain some rights. The point that I'm making is, let me show you the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is the people that you calling indigenous, they were still of African descent. They were still of African descent, even though they was a part of the 500,000 free, quote unquote, blacks. They were still of African descent. They were not indigenous into this land. These were people that were brought here, and most of them knew it. Most of them knew it. Now, watch this. These Negroes wasn't indigenous. They were indentured servants. They was indentured servants. Now, with that being said, let's read this real quick. Let me go right here. Even though most free black people were able to find jobs, there was still a need for black self-organizations. Thus, fraternal and benevolent society, churches, educational institutions were founded by black people. We're talking about 1783. Family, we're talking about 1783. They want to convince you that they freed all of us in 1865. That is a flat out lie. It makes you believe that you was a slave more than you were subjected to that brutality. And you know what it does for the psyche? You know what it does for the psyche? Listen to this. Because they was captured in the war against the conquistadors. Poor Tink Tink. You need to go back to the beginning of the show. Anyway, check this out. Fraternal organizations satisfied a need for bringing black men together in brotherhood. Realizing this need, Prince Hall established the first Masonic Lodge for black men in 1787. That's before 1865. Although it was the American Army that Hall served during the Revolution, he and 14 other free blacks were inducted into the Masonic Lodge by a group of British soldiers sanctioned in Boston. The point that I'm making is that these free people before 1865, they never detached themselves from Africa. After the British left Boston, Hall established the African Grand Lodge. They never separated themselves from Africa. They knew who they were. They knew who they were. A few years later, Hall issued licenses to blacks in Philadelphia, and Rhode Island, where lodges were founded. At the meeting, members discussed problems of black people and decided on ways to help their black brethren. This was before 1865. So the people that you're seeing are not indigenous, typical natives of this land. These are African people. Since white insurance company refused to serve the black population, the establishment of black societies became necessary. As early as 1821, before 1865, benevolent societies was established to provide assistance for black people. There were societies such as Friendship Benevolent Society for Social Relief, the Star in the East Association, and the Daughters of Jerusalem. These were well-known organizations, large savings accounts in Baltimore banks. The African Relief Society. You hear what I say? The African Relief Society was formed in 1786 in New York City, gave members and their families financial help during sickness and upon death. The African Relief Societies. Our ancestors knew where they came from. So when you start talking about this ethnogenesis, remember, there's not a group or nationality in this country that didn't experience an ethnogenesis. In fact, FBA make us look weak and docile. They don't, listen, many FBA be sneaking and watching this stuff. But you know what they're going to do now? And you might hear it in other places. They're going to start calling these people FBA. And they're going to start underscoring what they was doing before 1865. You know what I mean? They start underscoring what they was doing before 1865. Let me get this guy out of here. This guy just trolling. I can't stand people that want to teach a class but won't ever come over here. Hey, brother, do you want to come on the show, Third Coat, or you just like to talk? One thing I can't stand about some people, that when we're having a discussion of educational value, they want to act like they more deeper than somebody else. You got to go further back than that, son. That ain't what we talking about, brother. That ain't what we talking about, brother. You know what I'm saying? Stick with the topic of what we're talking about. And you don't have to try to seem deeper than me. You know what I'm saying? I could care less if you're deeper than me. I'm trying to make a point, brother. Everybody trying to be, you got to go back further than that, brother. You know the Garden of Eden was right there in Alabama, brother. Man, listen, man. You ain't got to go deeper than me, man. I'm good. I'm just making a point. You know what I'm saying? But you know, they was back there cutting trees to build the first one of the 13 colonies. That ain't what I'm talking about. Why you don't got to sound deeper than me? I'm making a point that the people that they try to say indigenous, they were African too, but they were just free. And even when they went slave catching, they was catching free people. And you can look that up in some of the newspaper articles where they were saying that slave catchers are trying to enslave free Africans or free blacks or free Negroes. They wasn't going to no Indian people. I mean, they wasn't going there. That's the point that I'm making. I mean, come on, man. Everybody want to be so deep. It ain't that complicated. It's not that complicated. We complicate the most simplest stuff. I mean, last but not least, these people knew they was from Africa. You know what I'm saying? Our people knew where they were from. Listen, these people be making up stuff. As the free black population grew, attempts were made to send many blacks as possible out of the country. Slaveholders became increasingly fearful that large numbers of free blacks would threaten slavery. They were sure that slaves would try to find their way to join free black communities. Now stop right there. What these pseudos try to say is that, Europeans started Pan-Africanism by trying to recolonize blacks into Africa. And this started the Pan-African thing. And they tried to recolonize us into Africa to try to get us off our land. That's their argument. But in fact, history records that the objective was to try to minimize the population of free Negroes so they can avoid revolts and avoid them coming to free their brethren. It wasn't about trying to remove them off of our land per se. It was about population. This is why they got FBA saying, go back to your country. Go back to Haiti. This is why they got FBA saying, go back to the Bahamas. FBA, go back to Puerto Rico. Go back to that poop hole. Go back to Kenya. Go back. This is why they got FBA saying that. And they got FBA saying that the same reason why they were trying to send African Americans, if you will, Negroes, if you will, back to Africa. Because they didn't want the numbers to compete. It had nothing to do with trying to swindle somebody out there indigenous land. Had nothing to do with that. And today it has nothing to do with, see, if that was the case, if immigration was a big problem, why would they accept South Africans? The European South Africans. Why would they accept the Ukrainians if immigrant was a problem? Heck, why is the immigration office still open? Because it ain't about immigration. It ain't about immigration. It's about numbers. And FBA is doing the bidding. FBA is doing the bidding. Listen again. As the free black population grew, several attempts were made to send as many blacks as possible out of the country. Slaveholders became increasingly fearful that the large numbers of free blacks would threaten slavery. They were sure that slaves would try to find ways to joining the free black communities. As early as 1714, y'all listening to these dates? As early as 1714, a few Americans believed that blacks in America should be sent back to Africa. Later, Thomas Jefferson, who became the second president of the United States, expressed a similar idea. In 1777, Jefferson headed a committee that outlined a plan gradually free slaves to be colonized to such places as circumstances of time should blank most proper. That's a quote, and they missed the word. In 1826, shortly before his death, Jefferson stated that blacks should be sent to the West Indies, where the governments were black. They are trying to have population control. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to do population control. Brother, drop your email. I'm about to sign off. I'm not dropping no link. TahakaBay@gmail.com. TahakaBay@gmail.com. Send me, somebody put my email in there. TahakaBay@gmail.com and give me the subject matter. You can come on the show tomorrow. TahakaBay@gmail.com. You can come on the show tomorrow. But you got to tell me your subject matter. I mean, if you believe that you FBA, that's fine. You know what I mean? That's fine. But if you believe that you descended of descendants of this Indian tribal nation here in America, then come on and show and prove. Some blacks also wished to settle in Africa. In 1811, Paul Cuffey, a black ship owner, established Friends Society of Sierra Leone. See, our people understood where we were from. The organization was to encourage free blacks in America to settle in Sierra Leone. So what's your argument, brother? Soon after Cuffey's organization was founded, the American Colonization Society was established. Members of this organization, let me stop there. So when people say the American Colonization Society is the one that instituted Pan-Africanism, you're a lie. You're a lie. Because before that was Cuffey. And then before him, it was, one second. Before him, there was, hold up, the brother name. What's the brother name? I got a few more things I want to show you. I'm going to find out this brother name. I think I got his name somewhere. What's the brother name? Oh, yeah. Henry Sylvester Williams. Yeah. Now, it was Henry Sylvester Williams who coined the term Pan-Africanism. Now, look it up. Henry Sylvester Williams. Europeans didn't coin that term. All right? Now, one thing that these crazy indigenous people refuse to understand is something that's in this book about black Indians. You see what you see in there? You see what you see in there? Let me tell you what you're looking at right there. Check that picture out. You got Indians and you got, quote unquote, what they would call Negroes. There was a difference. There was a difference between Negroes and Indians. Y'all see that? It's a difference. Y'all peep that? These are Africans and those are Indians. And guess what? The early Oklahoma school had red and black Indians students. Why did they say black Indians? Again, because these were the slaves that was adopted into tribes. And they took on the tribal name, just like nationality. When you become a citizen of the United States from any country, you are literally, officially, as a status, an American. That's how it works. And when you're accepted into an Indian tribe, again, you take on the name of that tribe. You take on the nationality of that tribe. That doesn't make you blood connected to the Indian heritage or tribe unless you intermarried. And then your children would have some blood. But the original people that connected, these were runaway slaves or had relationship with Indian tribes. So when you try to twist the narrative, you go to stuff like this. Hold up. This guy right here. Look at him right here. Let's look at him right here. George. This is an African man. This is an African man. George Borge followed in his father's footsteps, marrying a Chippewa and becoming a noted fur trapper. This was an African right here. All right. Beckworth also emerges the fur trade's early history as the greatest Indian fighter of the generation. This was an age when competitors for this honor were Daniel Boone, David Crockett, Jim Bridger, and Kit Carson. It is difficult to imagine that this famed frontiersman, scout, and employer has faded from the story of the Old West, but fade he did. In skill, accomplishment, and violence be matched. Men men whose deeds have become part of, I'm trying to read this, a glorious frontier heritage. But when the Universal International Hollywood produced the Horse of Opera Tomahawk, it cast a white actor, Jack Oakey, as Jim Beckworth. Generations, something. But the point that I'm making is that this was a guy who became known as an Indian because he married into the tribe. Not because he was indigenous from the soil. And majority of the people that these people are trying to classify as indigenous from the soil, it's the same set of circumstances. It's the same set of circumstances. And that's why it blows me away that people don't read no more. It blows me away. It's sad. It's actually sad. And I ain't got time to read like I used to, but it's actually sad. I mean, it's actually sad. Now, I want to show you one more thing before I get out of here. Let me show you one more thing. So, I'm pretty sure many of y'all have read the book Before the Mayflower, right? So, do we want to believe that all of these accounts that we have read, is a part of a conspiracy to hide our American indigenous heritage? Is that where we going with this? Is that where we going? Is that where we going with this? You know what I'm saying? Anybody remember this book? Not this one right here. Look right here. They clearly show you these Chickasaw members. Listen to this. These Choctaw members show the racial mixture that typified the nation. Here we go right here. Y'all see this? The little boy on the left. They was mixing. The Africans was mixing with the Indians, the ones that came across the Bering Strait. But these were Africans. Clearly, these were Africans. They was mixing, and so I guess they Mexicans. They call Mexicans. This is documented proof. I mean, but now, before the Mayflower, I meant to say, not before Columbus, before the Mayflower. Check this out. Let me just read this. It says, anybody ever read that book Before the Mayflower? Listen to this. The most important of these events was the European discovery of America, the opening of the New World. It is a point of paradoxical interest that descendants of the first black captives, black Christians born in Spain and Portugal. Did you hear me? And listen to it again. Remember when I said the Moors was target for slavery? Hence, I'm a Moorish American. Remember I said that? The most important of these events was the European discovery of America and opening of the New World. It is a point of paradoxical interest that the descendants of the first black captives, black Christians born in Spain. Remember I said they was forced to accept Christianity? Born in Spain and Portugal. Wherewith the first European explorers and settlers, black explorers, servants, slaves, and freemen accompanied Spanish, Portuguese explorers in their expedition in North and South America. They were with Pizarro in Peru, Cortez in Mexico, and Menendez in Florida. 30 blacks were with Balboa when he discovered the Pacific Ocean. Perhaps these were all Moors. Perhaps the best known of the early black explorer was Estevanica. I know I butchered it, and I know the name very well. Who opened up the New Mexico and Arizona to the Spaniards. Other blacks, W.E.B. Du Bois says, accompanied De Soto, and one of them stayed among the Indians in Alabama and became the first settler from the Old World. Spaniards who took... So, the point that I'm making is that you can count how many people, and it's documented, how many people came before Columbus, that came before the Mayflower. But even them, here's the book right here. But even them were Africans. So when these people start talking about ethnogenesis and all of this stuff, every group of people in America has had an ethnogenesis. Every group of people. Every group of people. It's just we suffered from the institution of slavery, and we try to make it seem like our ethnogenesis is enough to disconnect us from Africa. Nah. No ethnogenesis disconnects you from your origin. It don't work like that. It don't work like that. So the next time one of these crazies talking about there was an ethnogenesis, you remind them that the United States is a melting pot, that the United States is a country with multiple nationalities coexisting together. And each one of these nationalities, for the most part, have formed some sort of ethnogenesis. And neither of them separated themselves from the place that they descend from.
Certified boogeyman.
None of them.
Certified boogeyman. Certified boogeyman.
Check 1, 2.
Certified boogeyman.
We're gonna speak the truth, regardless of whether you like that truth or not.
Certified boogeyman.
We're in the 21st century. How people are poor, hungry, ragged, naked, and out of doors.
Certified
How people
boogeyman.
are being murdered on a daily and consistent basis.
It's been a long time, I shouldn't have left you. A couple weeks farther crept through. He put the peen on me, I didn't neglect you. Time's up, allow me to bless you. To yell reparations and he got your attention. A failed clown rapper, claim he was pimping. What you don't know, he was a fed since 9-0. Cosmo Flex was a front for 5-0.
Certified
You can't
boogeyman.
get dropped in a pit of snakes
Certified boogeyman.
and trying to figure out which one has the venom sac.
Certified
This
boogeyman.
tongue, this one is not
Certified
poison.
boogeyman.
FBA laughed when he went to the Romans. I guess they don't understand, that's you own them. Lying on GS, claiming I stalked them. That ain't true, cause if it was, I'd have chalked them. I'm simply a blogger, researching for the family. Cause people look like me, continue to scam me, continue to scam us in the name of liberation. But when you call them out, they claim that you hate me.
Certified boogeyman. Certified boogeyman.
Yeah.
Certified boogeyman.
Come on.
Certified boogeyman.
I'm back like I left something, and you kept frontin' sick the peens on me, but they ain't really stopping nothing. How you say you slap a man and go get a peace order? Something ain't adding up. I'm swimming in the deep waters. Time to take a deep dive, see who you really are. Who named you Tariq Nasheed? Affiliated with the guns? Nah, you ain't a Sunni or the nation, but ain't nobody question why you perpetrating. See, early in the 90s, they put you on a mission. Hip hop was conscious, you came with something different. Goofy clown rap, it take it off track, but you was so whack, nobody followed the act. So they made another character, turned you to a thug. From Cosmo to K-Flack, but still got no love. Album with Wood, it was trash, no good. You was hip-hop police, snitching on the hood. How you make a documentary about hip-hop and not include yourself in all your albums that flop? Yeah, you got some dark secrets, I'm here to expose them. And I don't plan to stop until everybody knows them.
Pan-African or perish. Pan-African or perish.
Let me tell y'all something. I've gotten calls from these white networks wanting to put me on and give me a real big bag to get on TV and get out here and start throwing black immigrants under the bus with them. You think they haven't hit me up, people? Y'all think these folks haven't hit me up? When I start saying that I agree with Trump, do y'all Google that? Google Tariq Trump. Look at all the right-wing publications that jumped on that. Look at all of them that jumped on that.
Pan-African or
And I'm talking about
perish.
especially a person like me, as black as I am. They would love for me to join with them to dump on some black immigrants. There's a huge bag for that.